Welcome back to the Polity. We're still talking about the APC and PDP momentum as the D-Day draws nearer. I'm still in the studio with Mr. Hussein Nene from PDP and Mr. Ali from the APC. All right, we were talking just now, and it seems that we're making some sort of clear lines, and it seems as though it's a competition, or perhaps a face-off between the CBN governor and the APC presidential candidate. I say this because the comments that the presidential candidate keeps making, I think no one wants to put it directly on the footstep of the president there. So, that being said, Mr. Ali made some, what I call them, allegations just now about how Emefiele is actually from the PDP era and perhaps still holds some level of allegiance to that previous era, and is sabotaging the APC campaign this time around.
I'll first of all talk about the sanctity of our institutions. It's one of the things the APC has attacked and eroded consistently. If you recall, before the 2019 elections, where the DSS attacked judges in their homes in the dead of night, where they removed a sitting CGN, and I'm saying days before an election, removed a Chief Justice of Nigeria and put in their appointee, knowing that there was going to be a Supreme Court case that Supreme Court judge would adjudicate over. And you see it again with the meddlesomeness of the APC candidates and the governors, with the independence of the constitutionally guaranteed independence of the central bank. They've gone to the National Assembly to try and interfere. They've now approached the Supreme Court to try and interfere, simply because they are desperate to use funds to win this election. And maybe that's what concerns me more than the internal crisis they're having with themselves and their government appointees. And I say government appointees deliberately. Yes, Emefiele was initially appointed under a PDP government, but in 2019, his 5-year tenure came to an end. And in the wisdom of President Buhari and the APC government, they decided to give him another 5-year term. So if he is failing, how does he become suddenly Jonathan's appointee? He had to go back to the Senate. The Senate reconfirmed him. He is the president's appointee. He is an APC government official. He has nothing to do with the PDP. His failures as a CBN governor have nothing at all to do with us. We condemn them, and we have a very, very clear, my kindness has articulated the role he feels the central bank should be playing with regard to monetary policy. And when we get into power on the 27th of May, we will bring in a central bank governor who will be independent, but who will put in policies that will help our fiscal policies work. There is something I needed to say about the polls, though, So we've talked about these polls and we've dismissed them. And so you ask yourself, but why do they keep on coming out? Polls shape opinion. So we're talking about them today. You put out a poll and it said Peter Obi is going to win. So there's now an expectation building, even if it's been built on sand or on air, that Peter Obi can win. It becomes doubly concerning when you hear statements from leaders like Pa Adebanjo, who comes and says on national television that if Peter Obi is not declared president, Nigeria will cease to exist, and we should prepare to go to war to defend that. That type of rhetoric with this type of polls are a very, very dangerous mix in one of the poorest nations, one of the most populated black nations, the most populous black nation on earth. It's very, very dangerous. You can see how tempers are boiling over just over this currency issue, just over these 4 issues. When you start using dangerous rhetoric like this, if my candidate is not declared, there will be trouble. It's undemocratic. We condemn it. And we hope someone speaks to Adebanjo that type of language is not acceptable in democratic space.
That's fair enough. So perhaps we should move to that topic now. We're really interested in having a clean space where we can talk about the issues. Unfortunately, with politics always creeping in, not creeping in anyway, dominating. Perhaps we could have had a conversation today about your candidate's take on security and so on and so forth. But then these issues always come in. So that being said, I'd like to get your, perhaps your perspectives each on the nature of this election cycle, what we've seen so far. I'll just put out a condemnation by one of the candidates against your candidates, and I want to see your response. So I asked one of the presidential candidates, how can you ensure that this period is clean? There's no going outside of the topic, no splitting or polarizing people. And he said that the first way to do this, sorry, the question was, how would you have a government, come back together, for lack of a better word, unify people after they are losers and winners, and people who have casted votes in different ways now have to return. And his response was that any president who is not doing it, any presidential candidate who is not doing it now cannot do it then. That if you are already using divisive language now, there is no way you can unite afterwards. And then he quoted your candidates. He says for the APC candidate, first of all, fielding a Muslim ticket, saying it is his turn, or the turn of the Yoruba locals, so to speak, that is divisive, and that it causes a rift. For the PDP, it references a statement by the candidate where he was speaking at a northern setting, and he says, don't vote for an Igbo, or don't vote Yoruba or Igbo, vote a northerner who has knowledge of the rest, so to speak. And he also mentioned Peter Obi, who goes, in his words, goes to church and says, take back your country. So that being said, he has put you guys on the spot and said that you are already part of that divisive nature. So what do you have to say for your candidates and your campaigns? Is that what is going on? Are you trying to divide and rule over what is left? I'll start with Mr. Osa.
I think you couldn't resist when you talked about unifying the country, and you said apologies to me, because I think we all know that the unifying candidate is my candidate, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, and it's a title he has earned over the last 30, 40 odd years he has spent in public service. I'm also happy that you put some context around the statement when he went to Kaduna to meet the RRR Consultative Forum, I think it was. But the question he was asked very, very directly was, why should I, a northerner, that was the question he was asked, why should I, a northerner, vote for you? And it was in the framing of the question that he responded in kind, that don't vote for a Yoruba person or an Igbo person. I am a northerner, I am like you, I understand your issues, I understand the problem, I know the solutions. But more importantly, I am able to not just stay in the north and govern as a northern president. I have a pan-Nigerian vision, and I can straddle all corners of the country. I can work in the northeast, in the northwest, in the southwest, in the southeast, in the south-south. I can work everywhere. And that's what he said. And he said, that's what you should vote for. Don't vote for an ethnic or a sectional president. Vote for a president who, regardless of his ethnicity, regardless of his religion, is able to govern Nigeria as a Nigerian president. That's what he said, to paraphrase. It's not the same thing as going to Ogun State and saying, Emi Lokan, Yoruba Lokan, which Tinubu said. It's not the same thing as you said, like going to churches and going to Christian communities and campaigning directly and appealing directly to them. And the effects of this, we see them in our polls. You are seeing voters, and I think even in the STAIRS poll, they pointed it out, that people are now voting according to their tribes and according to religion. We spent months developing our manifesto. When was the last time you heard anybody talk about the manifesto? Because now people realize that we are in a religious and sectional and ethnic election, and people are appealing to those bases. People are doubling down to those bases. So if Peter Obi goes to Adamawa, for instance, and he goes to a Christian community, because the polls are showing him that that's where his voters are. Tinubu is a Muslim. He picks one of the more divisive Muslim candidates, political leaders we have, because the polls show him that that's where the voters are. So for me, it's a chicken and egg thing. My candidate has tried to stay away from all of this, but if voters vote along these paths, if voters are influenced by ethnicity and religion, your candidate probably he's not in the running. And it might be because he's trying to stand above the fray. I don't know. But we still insist on trying to campaign on issues. I remember we had a meeting with some consultants who had gone into the Northeast to try and find out what people were saying. And they came back to us to tell us that the feedback was in Borno, I think it was, local people were saying, Namu Namune, Atiku is our own. And in the room there, we shut down that message, that's not Atiku's core message. He's not, doesn't belong to the North, doesn't belong to the Northeast. He's campaigning to be Nigeria's president. And we shut it down. That's why you don't hear us campaigning along those lines. We'll go to the east, to the west, we are speaking, and everywhere we go, we are telling people what we are going to do for them in their localities and how our plans and our restructuring programs will benefit them where they live. You know, so I'm proud of my candidate, I'm proud of the way we have campaigned. This unfortunately, it's going to be one of the most divisive we've seen since maybe 1979. You cannot reverse that in 2 weeks. But I'm hoping that the lessons we learn off of this will stand us in good stead in future elections. I know my candidate has said he will form a government of national unity because Nigeria's problems are too large and our schisms are too wide. You know, he must form a government of national unity. We did it in 1999 when the country was divided. After we won, we formed the government of national unity. And he's saying again, when we win, we'll invite my brother Ali to come and join us.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from a caller there. Good afternoon, Elder Zion.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Well done.
Welcome. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. Amadi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. Zion,
Yes.
from God.
All right, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh.
Briefly, I want to disagree. I want to disagree with one of your analysts, Mr. Rossi Oche. The submission he made about Ayo, Atabanjo, and PDP is not proper. It's not proper. You
All right.
Friday not enough.
All right.
He was lost the president in this very bad political election.
All right.
If we want Nigeria to be one, he was the president. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Zion, for calling. I'm sure Mr. Hausa would like to respond, but we have very little time left, and let's quickly hear from Mr. Ali if there's time, and then we'll come back to you. So the initial question, the allegations that were made about both your candidates, do you agree with his defense of his candidates, and also the allegations about your candidate also being divisive?
You see, people, let me tell you something here. You see, at the head of any change, there must be one single driver to that process. Buhari spearheaded the change that dislodged the PDP in 2015. He became the symbol. He led the charge because he had tried severally and was coming short, but he rallied around people. The same thing. People are taking the Emilio expression out of context, because when Tinubu say it's my turn, he means the turn of people who he built a coalition over time. So it's the turn of that coalition now, the coalition of progressive change, but it's taken out of context. When he said my turn, he meant in a more expanded manner our turn. But you know, if somebody is committed to misunderstanding you, whatever you say, they will misunderstand you because they are committed
so do
to.
you think the PDP candidate was also misunderstood?
No, but you see, the question of the PDP candidate, until he said, I'm glad he admitted it, there was a song that went viral up north. I'm from the north, like you know. And in the song, the whole thing, the underlying theme of the PDP presidential quest, Atiku presidential quest, is because some people feel up to this moment they've been shortchanged up north. The power should remain, which some of us say no. Nigerians, equally other Nigerians, have the same way we argue in the past when PDP violated the rotation principle, insisted on fielding Jonathan in 2015 election, even the 2011 election, and he vowed to do only one term. That worked against him, leading to the emergence of Buhari, who had been waiting in the wings. Now, I want you to understand the context. He gave a context how the question that, in response to the question that was framed in Kaduna, but to a lot of people, that really, I can relate to that, because you understand, he was trying to explain that, but he did not come out in such a way that to compel to make people believe what he said. He said merely because I'm a northerner, only a northerner understand the pain of a northerner. That to me is hogwash, you understand, because we've said it. Now, the case of Asuwaji picking L, another Muslim, unfortunately. You see, it's convenient for people when you have a winning ticket, people will dwell on that. In 2011, there was a Muslim ticket, but nobody talked about that. Because even at that, the combination of Nuhu Ribadu and Fola Adeola, former MD of Guarantee Trust, they ran on the ACN ticket. If you remember, 2011. Nobody gave a hoot about that because they were not winning. The race even then was between Buhari's CPC and Jonathan's PDP. And of course, Buhari came short again. He came a second, as usual, just like he did in 2003 and 2007. Now, people are not making reference to that because it suits them, it serves their narrative of polarizing the nation. That's why you're having a Muslim. But in 1993, 30 years ago, the same Muslim ticket actually costed the victory. And incidentally, Babagana Kingibe and Abiola, one was from the southwest, one was from the northeast, in fact, Borno State. So, having said all of this, you have to look at the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Asuwaju. Look at him beginning with his family. I've never seen a more mixed family, a more mixed religion family like that of Asuwaju. His wife, like you know, is ranking, well, I don't want to use the word, is a pastor in the church. And look at his cabinet when he ran government as governor of Lagos. He had a rainbow cabinet. People from all over Northwest and Southwest. He brought in XY. He's a talent hunter. And again, let me state what...
I'm so sorry to cut you short, Mr. Ali. We just have a very few time left. So I'll just get some closing statements. Please, 1 minute each on what to expect if you want to respond to that then please do. But you just have a minute each, so perhaps you start it. Just your final thoughts on that.
Well, I think yes. This year's campaign has been, in a way, very rancorous. You see, it's been acidic. There have been all kinds of, and I think it's important that we move past that. And this is about the first time I'm engaging someone from across the opposition. That I think it has been a very great civil engagement, and I wish others would also engage people across without calling names. But you see, when people descend on leaders of any of the presidential candidate, it comes with the territory. In the more developed climate, something even much more vicious than what we are witnessing in Nigeria. We are still a little bit restrained, but the followers, unfortunately, or like developed climes, are not that savvy to know to separate the chaff from the grain. Unfortunately,
all right.
Yes.
Thank you for that. All right, Mr. Osa.
Very quickly, to Elder John, I'm from the South, but he might not realize that my mom is Anambra. I'm also from the Southeast.
Wow, you're complete Nigerian.
So I really cannot, based because of my ethnicity or religion. I vote for what's important to me. Things that matter to me are resource control, restructuring, and state police. That's what matters to me. And the reason I'm supporting Atiku is because he's the only person I believe has the will and the vision to push it through. I don't think he's just campaigning. I read books he wrote 10 years ago when he was talking about restructuring, resource control, and state police. So I believe him, and those are the things that matter to me. I cannot, because Obi is Igbo or from the South, support him, even though I know that if he gets into office, he's not going to deliver dividends of democracy that will better my life and life of my community. So that's the simple reason. I don't think Elder John was saying, Elder Zion was saying he must be president. You cannot use that kind of language in a democracy. Obi will appeal to voters just like Atiku, just like Tinubu, and let Nigerian voters decide who they want to lead them. And as Nigerians, regardless of the outcome of the elections in 2 weeks' time, I think we should all come together to support whoever becomes president of this country.
All right. Thank you so much for coming, gentlemen. To our viewers out there, especially to Elder Zion, keep staying tuned. We'll definitely bring you guests not better guests, but with democracy, everyone gets to have a say. Surely very soon we'll also be having some Labour Party representatives in the House. I'm sure that would be more to your liking. But that being said, the place is open for anyone to talk, and it can be countered, and as long as we are civil. Thank you very much for watching. Do join us tomorrow and across the weekdays, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. every weekday. Thanks for staying with us. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.